Hello again, and welcome to part 6 of AVR 602. This is going to be covering chapter 7, which is creating immersion with sound. Last time we were able to add light sources and lighting effects to our scene, and now we're missing that auditory. So we're going to be learning how to get audio assets from the Unity store, adding background music with 2D audio sources, and adding audio events to the VR rig along with a spatial audio for 3D audio sources. So Unity has several key sources, features, and topics for the sound system. That includes things like audio sources and listeners, who's able to hear the audio, spatial audio that simulates the way that sound travels in real life, which produces a more immersive experience. You have audio effects like reverb, distortion, Doppler, audio mixers, audio file formats like MP3, WAV, OGG Vorbis, which I've never heard of, scripting and programming. So there's ways that you can make C# scripts to change the way that audio behaves, like triggering sound effects or controlling the volume. And then we'll lastly talk about optimization of sound, like compression or bashing, to ensure that the game runs smoothly while computing how to produce these various sounds. We're going to start with going to the Unity Asset Store, and we are going to download RPG Essential Sound Effects for free. So we'll look these up. It should show up. So that's this one. Add it to my assets. Then I can open them in Unity. Download. And import them. I'm also going to install this lo-fi chill out music for games. Accept. Open that in Unity as well. Download and import. So while that's downloading, so there's also this epic adventure orchestral background music. I'm assuming that that's this one. So I'll just go through the same process. I'll make sure to import these. Fortunately, there have been some kind souls that have uploaded a plethora of free assets for us to use. So feel free to take advantage of the asset store whenever you can. There's no point in trying to kind of reinvent the wheel, making models or music from scratch when a lot of this has been done for free, unless maybe you're doing a large scale AAA project where you have artists who can make original content or assets for you. And then we're going to download this 3D radio. So it's like a 3D object asset model with texture. So it looks like I have the lo-fi music. I have the lo-fi music. I have the RPG essentials. So I have the lo-fi music. I don't think I have the orchestral background music yet. Here it is down here. I wish it would kind of tell me the one it's already been imported. Yeah, it doesn't tell me. So I have the radio. I have the radio. It's in here. I've got the orchestral background music. I think that's everything. In order to organize these, I'm gonna make a new folder because I don't want too many folders. I'm gonna call it audio, and then I will select all 4 of these and drag them into my folder. So that should reduce some of the clutter. So now that that's done, I'm actually not going to create a new scene yet for this. We're going to apply music to our scene using a 2D audio source, and this is going to play and appear to come from a fixed position in our world. So when they say 2D, the difference between a 2D and a 3D audio source is the 2D is kind of like fixed, like wherever you are, you will hear it at the same volume. When it's 3D, it means if you get closer, maybe we have that radio object that we imported. You get closer to the radio, the sound gets louder and louder, for example. So we can use what's called an audio source component, and you can play an audio clip, you can change its volume, its pitch, etc. You can even spatialize it to make it a 3D audio source. So let's get into doing this. We have the scene that we had just edited from chapter 6 with all of our lighting sources. What I'm going to do is create an empty game object here, and I'm going to call it audio. Then I'm going to create another empty object as a child of this and call it background audio. I doubt the position of these would matter, but I'm just going to make sure to set these to the origin. And again, background audio is a child of audio. And with my background audio, I'm going to add an audio source component. So I type in audio. There's one down here that says audio source. We're going to make sure that the spatial blend is set to 2D rather than 3D, but by default, it's usually set to 2D. We want to enable looping, and we're going to add a sound to the audio clip reference slot. This is going to serve as our background music, and we can go into our audio folder. Let's say that I don't want this changing, because if I click here, see this window's going to disappear. I kind of want to keep that while I'm searching through my files, so I can click the lock so I didn't lose it. I go to audio and I go to lo-fi music. We're going to choose one of these songs. Let's go with 14, Door of the Last Time, and drag that in. So now when I enter play mode, I'm not going to put the headset on. It will play my music. I don't have headphones on, so you'll hear it through my speakers. Okay, and now you should be able to hear this as I walk around. So pretty cool. Again, it's a 2D audio source, so even if I walk away from the center of the room, it won't get any quieter. All right, so that's that. That's how we add our background music. Okay, so next, obviously we don't want to have one song be playing on loop our entire game. So how do we change the audio sources that it may be playing? We can use different audio sources, of course, but we want to use audio events and add them to our VR rig so that we can trigger when to play different sounds. So for example, if the user is holding like a virtual gun and has to shoot enemies, we want the sound of the gun firing to be triggered by pulling the trigger on that object. So fortunately, Unity has an audio events interface for that. And in order to add audio, we're going to go through the following steps. So we're going to navigate to in our Leopause, I don't know why it's called that, but I would probably just drag this in audio to get rid of that so I don't get delete this one. Delete. I want it to be called the RPG Essentials. If I go to menu 10, the UI menu sound effects, it's got all of these like hover, confirm, denied. So it's like we're navigating our menu. This is what it sounds like. Okay. If you go to our VR rig and go to the left controller here, first of all, I'm going to need to unlock this. So we're on the left controller now. If I go to the XR Direct Manager, there is a list called Audio Events down here. We're going to enable on select entered. So when I press a certain trigger or button on my left hand, it'll play whatever sound we choose. Let's go to confirm here. And then we're going to select on select exited. So when we let go, we're going to use the unequip sound effect. For select canceled, we'll go to 29, decline. On hover entered, use hover. On hover exited, we use 98. On pause. And then lastly, for on hover canceled, we'll use denied 03. And then we're going to go to the right hand controller and do the same thing. So we'll go to its... Oh. So this one's using Array Interactor. Every interactor will still have this audio events tab. So we're going to turn all of these on and insert them in this order. Same order we did for the left hand. So we'll start with confirm 03 on select entered. 071. 29. 001. 98. And 33. All right, so let's go ahead and test it again and see how this plays. I want to be able to hear these sound effects over the background audio, so let's turn the volume down a little bit so we can... So you can see that this will only happen when I actually interact with the objects, because this is based off of the interactor, so you can hear me hover over it, there's a sound. Even when I place it into the... Where it does. Alright, I think you get the point. Now that we have that set up, let's try to add 3D sources where the distance actually determines how loud the object is. So kind of like how we have interactors and interactables, we need to have audio sources and a listener. Because without a listener, we won't be able to figure out how far away, we won't be able to determine how far away the listener is from the source and different types of interactions between them. So let's actually make that radio object. So we're going to go find that asset that we had for it. It should be an AK Studio Art radio. And we can go to the radio's prefab here. And we're going to make this a child of the audio game object in our hierarchy. If I focus, here it is, it's down here. It has a bit of a complicated mesh, so I don't think we need to use it as a collider. Let's turn that off. And they choose to place it here at -13, 0, -2. Let's see where that ended up. Somewhere on the floor. Okay, so it's over in this room, not in the center room. Let's make it a bit bigger so we can make it scale. I could just use the scale tool. They use like 6.5. But yeah, let's go with something like that. Drag it up so that it's on the off the ground. Then we're going to add an audio source component to this as well. Audio source. Okay, so now we're going to let this play something for us. What are those RPG essentials in here? We're going to choose the melody audio from Battle 1 in the orchestral music. So I can drag that onto the radio's audio clip. We'll have it on loop. And then what we're going to do is we're going to change the 3D sound settings for this. So I go to 3D sound settings. You can see that there's this little window here that I can edit. This is how the volume will vary with distance. So when you get really close, it starts really high, and then as you walk away, it gets a bit more quiet. First, we're going to set the spatial blend to 1. So that raises that bar here. We're going to set the minimum distance to 3. So this minimum distance will be 3. And then the max distance will be 13. So once we're outside of that range, we won't be able to hear it anymore. So you can kind of mess with the shape and determine how much more loud, I guess. You can kind of mess with this graph and kind of change how the sound varies across distance. Okay, so now that we have it looking like something we're happy with, we can save it and then test one more time. Right, so you can kind of hear it already coming from the other room. If I walk towards it, it'll get gradually louder. It doesn't sound very melodic, but it does get louder the closer we get to this thing. And then as I walk away, or let's say I teleport to the other side of the room, I won't be able to hear it once I get far enough. Still hear it. Well, it looks like it covers the entire room. Okay. And I would assume that the way you set it up, you want it to kind of roll off gradually before the sound disappears. You don't want to have an experience where the player hears that audio source and then as they're walking away, it just cuts out completely. Which it should be like that for you by default, but that actually concludes our tutorial. So this one was relatively brief. I hope that you may kind of experiment with all of the sound assets. Maybe you add some kind of footsteps for the player walking, or other sound effects when it comes to interactions, or like the gaze interactor, like that. So sound, of course, like lighting, plays a vital role in So sound, kind of like lighting, plays an important role in creating that immersive feeling for our player. So in the next chapter, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the C# code and actually programming scripts on our assets to allow for more advanced features and experiences. So I hope to see you in the next video, and I wish you the best of luck.